Welcome back to the podcast. If you're listening right now, it means you want to improve your English. And I'm really proud of you for that. In today's episode, we are not just talking about vocabulary or grammar. We're talking about something deeper. We are talking about confidence. We are talking about fear. We are talking about personal growth. Episode 5 is different. This episode is about becoming stronger, not only in English but in life. Many learners know grammar rules. Many learners understand English when they listen. But when it is time to speak, something stops them: fear, doubt, overthinking. In this episode, we will talk about overcoming fear of speaking English, building daily habits, staying motivated, learning from failure, dreaming big, and becoming a better version of yourself. These topics are simple, but they are powerful. Remember, English is not just a language, it is a tool for connection, a tool for opportunity, a tool for confidence. So relax, take a deep breath, listen carefully, and let's grow together. This is episode 5. Let's begin. Topic 1. Overcoming fear of speaking English. There was a time when I was afraid to speak English. Not because I didn't know words, not because I didn't understand grammar, but because I was afraid of making mistakes. Maybe you feel the same. When someone asks you a question in English, your heart beats faster. Your mind becomes blank. You know the answer, but the words don't come out. You worry. What if I say it wrong? What if they laugh? What if my pronunciation is bad? This fear is very common. I remember one moment clearly. I was in a small shop and the cashier spoke to me in English. It was a simple question. Do you need a bag? That's it, a very easy sentence, but suddenly I felt nervous. My mind started thinking too much. I wanted to answer correctly. I wanted perfect grammar. And because of that, I froze. After that moment, I felt disappointed in myself. I asked myself, why am I scared of such a small conversation? Then I realized something important. The fear was not about English. The fear was about judgment. We are not afraid of speaking. We are afraid of being judged. We imagine people laughing at us. We imagine them thinking we are not smart. But the truth is, most people don't care about our mistakes. They care about communication. Think about a child learning to speak. Do we laugh at a child when they make mistakes? No, we smile, we encourage them. We understand that mistakes are part of learning. So why are we so hard on ourselves? One day I made a decision. I told myself, from today I will allow myself to make mistakes. That sentence changed everything. Instead of trying to be perfect, I started trying to be brave. When I didn't know a word, I used a simple word. When my grammar was not perfect, I continued speaking. When I made a mistake, I smiled and corrected myself. Slowly, something amazing happened. The fear became smaller. Confidence is not something you suddenly have. It grows little by little. Every time you speak, even one sentence, your confidence increases. I also started practicing alone. I spoke to myself in English. I described my room. I talked about my day. I recorded my voice and listened. At first, a lot of I didn't like how I sounded, but after some weeks, I noticed improvement. Improvement gives motivation. Another important lesson I learned was this: fluency comes from action, not from thinking. Many learners spend years studying grammar but never speak. They wait for the perfect moment, but perfect moments don't exist. You must create your moment. Start with small sentences. Start with simple conversations. Start with mistakes. Mistakes are not proof that you are bad at English. Mistakes are proof that you are learning. When you change your mindset, everything changes. Instead of saying, I am bad at English, say, I am improving my English. Instead of saying, I am scared, say, I am practicing courage. Language learning is not only about vocabulary, it is about identity. When you speak English, you are stepping into a new version of yourself, and that can feel uncomfortable at first. But discomfort is growth. Every confident speaker you see today was once a beginner. They also made mistakes. They also felt nervous. Topic 2: A day I felt proud of myself. There was a day in my life that I will never forget. It was not a big celebration. It was not an award ceremony. No one clapped for me. But inside my heart, I felt proud. And sometimes, those quiet victories are the most powerful. That day started like any other day. I woke up in the morning feeling normal. Nothing special. I had my usual routine. I drank water. I checked my phone. I thought about my responsibilities. But there was something different. There was something I had been avoiding for a long time. Speaking English in front of others. For months, I practiced alone. I listened to podcasts. I repeated sentences. I improved my vocabulary, but I never spoke confidently in front of real people. I always told myself I'm not ready yet, that day, I decided to stop waiting. I remember my heart beating fast. My hands felt slightly cold. My mind started overthinking. What if I make mistakes? What if I forget words? What if they judge me? But then another voice inside me said, what if you succeed? That small question changed everything. When the moment came, I started, speaking slowly. My voice was not perfect. My grammar was not perfect, but I didn't stop. I continued, sentence by sentence, word by word, and something amazing happened. Nobody laughed, nobody judged me, people listened, they understood me. In that moment, I realized something powerful. We are often our biggest obstacle. The fear in our mind is usually bigger than reality. After I finished speaking, I felt something new. Not happiness, not excitement, but pride, a calm, quiet pride because I faced my fear. That day taught me that progress is not always loud. Sometimes progress is silent. Sometimes it's just you doing something that scared you yesterday. I didn't suddenly become fluent. I didn't suddenly become confident in everything. But I proved to myself that I am capable of growth. And that is powerful. Feeling proud of yourself is important. Many times we wait for other people to tell us good job. We wait for validation. We wait for recognition. That real growth begins when you can say to yourself, I'm proud of me, even if the step is small, even if the progress is slow. Learning English is not only about language, it's about courage, discipline, patience, self-belief. That day, I understood something else. Confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes after action. You don't wait to feel confident to speak. You speak, and then confidence grows. Since that day, I changed my mindset. Instead of asking, am I ready? I ask, am I brave enough to try? And bravery is more important than perfection. If you are listening to this and you feel stuck, I want you to think about one thing you have improved in your life. Maybe your pronunciation was better than last year. Maybe you understand more English now. Maybe you are practicing more consistently. That is growth. Be proud of that. Success is not always about big achievements. Sometimes it's about small personal victories that no one sees, and those victories build your future. The day I spoke despite fear was the day I realized I am not the same person I was before. I am stronger, and you are stronger than you think, too. Every time you practice, every time you listen, every time you try again after making a mistake, you are building a better version of yourself. And one day, you will look back and say, I'm proud of how far I've come. And that feeling, that quiet, powerful pride, is worth everything. Topic 3. A place that inspired me. There's a place I often think about, a place that made me feel calm, focused, and inspired. Not because it was famous or beautiful in the traditional sense, but because it made me feel alive. It's a small park near my city. I first discovered it on a quiet morning when I decided to take a walk and escape my usual routine. The streets were still empty, and the city felt slow and peaceful. As I entered the park, the first thing I noticed was the smell of fresh grass, mixed with the scent of flowers, the smell of morning dew. I took a deep breath and immediately felt lighter, calmer. The park was simple but full of life. Tall trees lined the walking paths. Birds sang softly in the branches. A small fountain trickled water in the center, making a sound that was both relaxing and rhythmic. I sat on a bench near the fountain and looked around, observing people slowly passing by. Some were jogging, some were walking their dogs, and some were sitting quietly, reading, or just enjoying the calm. I started narrating the scene in my mind, in English, as I often do when I practice speaking. The trees are tall and green, birds are singing. The water in the fountain sparkles in the sunlight. People walk slowly, enjoying the morning, speaking silently or aloud like, this helps me connect words with what I feel and see. As I walked further, I noticed a small garden area with flowers in full bloom. There were tulips, daisies, and marigolds, all arranged in colors that seemed almost magical under the morning light. I imagined describing them to a friend, in English. The tulips are red and tall. The daisies are small and white. The marigolds are bright yellow and orange. They smell sweet and fresh. I took my time observing every detail. The beauty of this place was not only in what I could see, but in how it made me feel. Sitting under a tree, I felt calm, reflective, and inspired. I thought about my goals, my dreams, and my journey in learning English. This park became more than a park. It became a place to think, to practice, and to grow. I watched a few children playing near the fountain. They laughed, ran, and splashed water. Their joy was simple and contagious. I described their actions in English. The children are running and laughing. Water splashes from the fountain. Their energy is fun and bright. Observing and describing in detail like this strengthens vocabulary and fluency naturally. I also notice small things that often go unnoticed. The way sunlight filtered through leaves, creating patterns on the ground, the way birds shook their wings after flying, the sound of footsteps on wet grass. All of these small details can be described in English and become excellent practice for storytelling. Sunlight shines through the trees. Patterns of shadow and light move slowly. The birds look happy as they flap their wings. After a while, I walked to a quiet corner of the park where a small wooden bench was shaded by an old tree. I sat down and reflected on why this place inspired me. It wasn't because it was grand or famous. It was because it was calm, peaceful, and allowed me to think. I realized that inspiration can come from simple places, especially when you take time to notice, observe, and reflect. For English practice, this park became a personal classroom. I described everything I saw and felt. I narrated silently. The wind is soft. The birds sing. I feel calm and happy. This place makes me want to think and dream. I even imagined telling a friend a full story about the park. When I first discovered it, what I saw, what I felt, and what I learned. By the end of my walk, I felt renewed. I had spent an hour in a quiet place, but it felt like I had experienced many small adventures. I realized that inspiration doesn't always come from big events. It often comes from paying attention to the world around you and noticing beauty in small details. For listeners, here's the tip. Find a place that inspires you. It can be a park, a street, a cafe, or even a corner of your home. Spend time observing it. Describe it in English. Talk about what you see, feel, and think. This will improve your English naturally, and it will also teach you how to notice and appreciate life more deeply. Topic 4. My favorite childhood memory. When I think about my childhood, there's one memory that always makes me smile. It is not about a big event, a trip, or a gift. It is something very small, very simple, but it stayed in my heart for years. I was about 7 or 8 years old. Summer had just started and the sun was warm. The air smelled sweet like flowers and grass, and the sky was bright blue with soft clouds. I remember running barefoot on the grass in my backyard, feeling the cool earth under my feet. That feeling of freedom is something I still remember clearly. One afternoon, my friends and I decided to have a small adventure. We built a secret fort behind some bushes. It was just sticks and old blankets, but in our minds, it was a castle, a spaceship, and a pirate ship all at once. We laughed so much while trying to carry sticks that were too big or fight imaginary dragons. I remember my hands were scratched, my clothes were dirty, but I didn't care at all. I was completely happy. I can still hear our laughter in my mind, the way we whispered plans to each other, the way we tried to keep our fort secret from adults. Every little detail of that day feels alive when I think about it. I remember the smell of wet grass after a small rain, the birds singing, and even the tiny ants walking on the ground. These small things created a big memory in my heart. Later that day, my mother called us for lunch. I was hesitant to leave our fort, but the smell of food was too strong. Sitting at the table eating rice and vegetables, we told my mother about our adventure. She smiled and listened carefully. I remember feeling proud to share our little secret, even though she already knew what we were up to. That feeling of pride mixed with happiness is unforgettable. This memory is important to me not only because it was fun, but because it taught me something about life. Happiness is not in big things or expensive gifts. Happiness is in small moments, playing, exploring, imagining, and enjoying simple things. It is in the freedom to be yourself, the laughter shared with friends, and the beauty of ordinary days. Thinking about this childhood memory also reminds me of how much I have grown. It makes me appreciate the simple things in life. Even now when I walk in a park, see children playing, or sit quietly under a tree, I feel a connection to that day. I feel calm, joyful, and inspired. For English practice, this memory is perfect. You can describe every little detail, the colors, the smells, the sounds, the feelings, the actions. You can narrate the story as if someone is listening using past tense, descriptive words, and emotional expressions. For example, the sun was warm, the grass felt cool. We built a fort. We laughed loudly. My hands were scratched, but I didn't care. I felt happy and free. Even describing small details helps your English improve naturally. You learn adjectives, verbs, feelings, sequences, and storytelling techniques, all without stress. You are telling a real story, not repeating memorized sentences. That makes your English real, alive, and memorable. Whenever I feel tired, stressed, or distracted, I think about this childhood memory. It reminds me to enjoy the present, notice small things, and find happiness in daily life. I also think about how I can create new memories today, small moments that I will look back on and smile. For listeners, I suggest this exercise. Think of a memory from your childhood that makes you happy. Describe it slowly in English. Talk about the place, the people, your feelings, and every small detail. Speak aloud. Imagine telling it to a friend and enjoy the story. This is a fun and natural way to practice English and build confidence. Memories like this show us that happiness, learning, and storytelling are all connected. Childhood memories are not just about the past, they are tools to practice English, reflect on life, and feel gratitude for small, beautiful moments. Topic 5. A lesson I learned from a stranger. Sometimes the most unexpected lessons come from people we don't even know. This story happened to me on a quiet afternoon, and I still remember it clearly because it taught me something very important. I was walking home from the store, my bag was heavy, and I felt tired from a long day. The streets were busy with people, cars, and the usual city noise. I was thinking about my routine, my responsibilities, and what I needed to do when I noticed an elderly man sitting on a bench. He was feeding birds, dropping small crumbs of bread onto the ground. I paused for a moment and watched him. I don't know why, but something about the scene felt peaceful. The man looked calm, patient, and completely present. He was not worried about traffic, work, or the news. He was simply giving attention to the birds and enjoying the moment. I smiled quietly and continued walking. Suddenly, he called out to me, "Hello, young man. Would you like to feed the birds too?" At first I hesitated. I wasn't sure what to say, but I nodded and walked over. He handed me some crumbs, and together we fed the birds. The birds came close, hopping and chirping. I laughed softly as one bird even pecked gently at my hand. Then he said something I will never forget. Sometimes in life we forget to notice small things. We're always thinking about big goals, big problems, big achievements. But happiness and lessons often come from small moments, small actions, and kindness. Pay attention to those and life will feel richer. I was silent. I didn't expect such a deep thought from a stranger. But it made sense. I had been walking through life too quickly, focused only on tasks, worries, and my own plans. I rarely stopped to notice small details or reflect on simple joys. I asked him, "How did you learn this?" He smiled and said, "By watching, by listening, by being patient." Life teaches us every day. We just have to notice. That short conversation changed the way I think. It taught me 3 things. 1. Notice small details. Birds, people, nature, sounds, all of it is part of life's lessons. 2. Listen to others. Even strangers can teach wisdom. You just have to pay attention. 3. Patience matters. The world moves fast, but taking a moment to slow down reveals knowledge and beauty. After that, I continued walking home, but I felt different. My mind felt calmer. I felt inspired. I decided to start noticing small lessons every day, whether it's from a stranger, a friend, or my own experiences. For English practice, this story is perfect. You can describe actions, feelings, people, and surroundings in detail. The man sat on a wooden bench, birds hopped close. I felt happy and surprised. He smiled and spoke slowly. You can also practice dialogue. Hello, he said, would you like to feed the birds too? Yes, thank you, I replied. Even small dialogues like this help you build conversational English naturally. By the end of the day, I realized that lessons come in unexpected ways. Sometimes a stranger's words, a short conversation, or a small act can teach you more than any book or class. And it reminded me that learning English, like life, is about paying attention, practicing, and noticing the small details. Topic 6. The most delicious meal I ever ate. Food is more than just something we eat. Sometimes a meal can become a memory, a story, or even an experience that stays with you forever. I want to tell you about the most delicious meal I ever ate, a meal that I will never forget. It happened a few years ago when I visited a small town outside my city. I was walking through the streets, exploring the local markets, the smells, the colors, and the sounds. Everything felt new, exciting, and alive. The sun was bright and the air smelled of fresh bread and spices. Then I saw a small, cozy restaurant tucked in a quiet corner. The smell coming from it was incredible, a mixture of grilled meat, fresh vegetables, and herbs. I decided to go inside. The restaurant was simple, with wooden tables, small chairs, and a friendly owner who greeted me with a smile. I ordered a dish I had never tried before. The waiter brought it carefully, steaming and fresh. I remember the moment I took the first bite. The flavors were amazing, perfectly cooked, perfectly seasoned. The taste was rich, comforting, and full of surprise. I closed my eyes and tried to notice every flavor, the saltiness, the sweetness, the freshness of the herbs, and the soft texture of the main ingredient. Eating that meal was more than just satisfying hunger. It was an experience. Every bite told a story about the place, the chef, and the culture. I imagined the process behind it, how the ingredients were grown, how the recipe was perfected, and how someone cared about every detail. That thought made the meal even more special. I also remember the sounds around me, soft music playing, people talking quietly, the clinking of utensils. I described everything in my mind in English. The meat is tender, the vegetables are fresh, the spices are delicious. I feel happy and calm. Describing things like this in English makes the story alive and improves your vocabulary naturally. For English practice, you can describe your favorite meals in the same way. What it looks like, smells like, tastes like, how it makes you feel, where you ate it, who you were with, and why it was special. By practicing storytelling like this, you improve your descriptive English, vocabulary, and speaking confidence. You also learn how to express feelings, senses, and thoughts in English naturally. And that's it for episode 5. Thank you so much for listening. I hope today's stories inspired you and gave you new ideas to practice English. Remember, small steps every day make a big difference. Keep speaking, keep practicing, and enjoy every moment. If you liked this episode, don't forget, subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for episode 6. See you next time.